Welcome to On the Right Side of History with Kansans for Life. Come with us as we connect the pro-life movement's past to present, uncover hidden or forgotten history, and its connections to the battle still raging today. Now, here's our host, Danielle Underwood.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. Today, Dr. Alveda King joins me on the podcast. Dr. King serves as chair of the America First Policy Institute's Center for the American Dream. She's the daughter of the late slain civil rights activist Reverend A.D. King and the niece of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Alveda is an untiring evangelist, both for Christ and the pro-life movement. She founded Speak for Life and Alveda King Ministries while writing books, appearing frequently in the media, serving 2 terms in the Georgia House of Representatives, and much more. Welcome, Dr. King, and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for this opportunity.
It's an honor to have you here with us. So, you come from a renowned family with a deep history of fighting for civil and human rights at great personal cost. And I'm wondering, how did that legacy lead you to become a fighter for the right to life?
As the daughter of Reverend Alfred Daniel Williams King and his wife, Dr. Naomi Ruth Barber King, they're both in heaven now, and my grandfather, Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and his wife, Alberta King, and I'm the niece of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and of course, their sister, Christine. So I come from a legacy of Christians, Christian servants, and I believe that background has led me to where I am today. In 1950, my mother and dad were engaged to be married, and mother was pregnant. She became pregnant before the ceremony, actually. And she wanted to visit something called the Birth Control League, which became Planned Parenthood. And of course, they had several suggestions of how she could finish college before she embraced motherhood. So she and her mother went to talk to their pastor, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Sr., and that's my granddaddy. And he said, "No, that sounds like an abortion. We don't do that." He says, "Let's go ahead and we're going to have a baby, and I'll be better to you than even your own daddy could have been." It turns out that my mother's dad died before she was born. So they rescued me from abortion, but the family didn't talk about those things, and I didn't find that out until the 21st century. Wow. However, my grandfather was on guard against abortions his whole life. And my mother chose life, my dad chose life. And so I grew up in what was called, today it would be called a pro-life family, a pro-life community. I didn't know all of that. And I did marry in the 1970s. And I became pregnant. Well, actually, I got married in 1969. Let me correct that. And I became pro-choice in the decade of the 70s, and became born again in the 1980s and repented of my own abortions. And of course, birthed 6 living children. Now I have 11 grandchildren. So my grandfather was a champion for life his whole life. And I know that if I could talk to him today, he would encourage me to still fight for life from the womb to the tomb and beyond. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, that is a very deep legacy. That's amazing what an impact grandparents can have on their grandchildren and on their children, of course. So
absolutely.
Can you tell us then, so with that legacy in mind and with that deep connection to this issue, why do you think the pro-life movement is the human rights issue of our day?
Well, honestly, my uncle, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." He also said during his lifetime, the Negro cannot win if he's willing to compromise the futures of his children for immediate personal comfort and safety. So we consider the human being from conception until natural death, and I say and beyond because there is eternity. So in thinking that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, then life becomes not only a civil right, but a God-given human right. And so all of the other questions that we have, especially here in the 21st century, well, let's have a bill, a heartbeat bill. And I'm totally not against any heartbeat bill. I'm really not. But science has shown us now that the heartbeat beats a lot earlier than what some of the bills are saying. So to put a number, a date, or a time when you would defend that life, I said, why are we squabbling over dates and times and when is it a baby? And science has shown us, the Bible has definitely shown us that it's life. And we have to learn to affirm life as a human dignity issue. And when we do that, that doesn't just mean the baby's in the womb. The sick, the elderly, I'm 73. And I say, well, don't be mean to old people either. I'm
Hmm.
old, you
Yes.
know.
And those with
And
disabilities. Yeah. Yes.
the disabled human dignity should be not just a civil right and not just a human right, but recognized as a God given right from the womb to the tomb and beyond.
So many people look at this struggle over abortion as mainly a political issue. But I'm wondering, how do you see the right to life, as more than a political issue? I can tell already you have you have a very firm foundation that you have your beliefs built upon. So it is certainly something that we talk about and address in the in the political sphere, but it's much more than a political issue. Can you speak to
The life
that?
issue transcends politics, or it should. So, Republican, Democrat, Independent. A long time ago, I guess there was a Green Party. I just came back from Romania, for example, and they have several political parties there. And so it's not life goes beyond a political party or a political issue. And life should be recognized, and human dignity should be recognized.
So, what lessons from other human rights issues, other human rights struggles, do you think we can apply to the pro-life efforts in our state and nationally? You're a national leader, and you have been for decades. We're
Well, and now I'm 73 years old globally, and the issues are the same regardless of skin color now. I say I believe that we are one blood and one human race. Acts 17:26, of one blood, God made all people to live together on the face of the earth. So I don't think we're separate races that need to learn to get along. So whatever our life situations are, whatever skin color, socioeconomic issues, uh, even things come into play now. Kids like, I don't know if I'm a boy or a girl. And little kids, you ask them, sometimes the little child would say, can I be a frog? Well, baby, you can't be a frog. It's just not possible. Well, I can hop, I can jump, I'm a frog. Well, no, you're not a frog. So one thing I said, you didn't ask me this, but this one came to me early when I still had, my children were younger, my grandchildren. I says, well, don't come home and say you want to cut something off of your body while you are a child. I said, my mother told me this. Many years ago, I had a splinter in my toe and it hurt so badly. And so she got a needle and a match and she was going to sterilize the needle with the match. And I'm looking at my toe and that needle and that match. No, no, no. So I slipped away and found some scissors. Thank goodness my mother followed me because I was going to take the scissors
oh
and
my
cut off my
goodness.
toe. I was going to solve it. So she said, baby, if we take this needle, it'll hurt for a minute, and we'll get the splinter out and put a little medicine, you'll be fine. If you cut off your toe, it won't grow back.
Mm.
So I said, did anybody tell the little children that if they cut it off, it won't grow back? So sometimes simple little stories like that, or I would say to my grandchildren, my children, and then later my grandchildren, well, it's still really a baby. So we're going to have to figure this out. So you don't want to have misplaced compassion.
Mm.
So regardless of what country you live in, what your skin color is, there are a lot of human issues in question. But we are all one blood. Acts 17:26, of one blood, God made all people. So don't see ourselves as different races or rich or poor, even young or old. We have to all see each other as human beings. And for me, as a Christian woman, who accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in 1983, we're actually in need of a Savior too.
You make such a great point about the long-term consequences of actions. That we have to understand what those consequences are, and that those are generational consequences also. And I think that you make a really powerful point there. So just kind of to close us out today, you've been a longtime supporter of President Donald J. Trump, former president. And, while he was in the White House, you wrote a book about him and your experiences working with him. And he's also an admirer of yours, presenting you with the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award in 2021. And I'm just wondering, we have this crucial election ahead of us. It's obviously already been kind of a crazy ride as in the months leading up to this election. And I'm just wondering what you would say to pro-lifers about what's at stake this presidential election.
Well, interestingly enough, and President Trump's beautiful, lovely, compassionate wife, Melania, their whole family, I know their family, and I probably actually met President Trump many years ago when we were both Democrats, earlier in maybe the 80s or something. He'll say, I don't even remember when I met Alveda. I say, I don't remember either. So we were able to work closely together during his years as the 45th president.
Mm-hmm.
And I will definitely be voting for him again. That's not an endorsement. I don't endorse candidates anymore. I pray for those who are in authority. So the things with compassion that he did during his term, the historically Black colleges and universities had to come up every year and sign something and get a little bit of money. He says, why do you have to come every year? Let's just do enough so that you can have that dignity and do the good work that you're doing. Or what the pardons for nonviolent crimes that people committed and they were in jail for almost all their lives. And he says, let's change that. Let's give people a second chance. And there were so many things. And the border, he was totally misunderstood. He didn't say, don't be compassionate and no immigrants. He says, but let's take care of our country, make it strong and good. And then when people want to come and enjoy the beauty that we have, let it mean something for them to come here and do and to get that citizenship. So he's been so misunderstood in so many cases. Wonderful family man, father, grandfather, community leader. Nobody knows Jennifer Hudson, for example, the singer, was cast out of her home and everything, had nowhere to live. He put up in $1 million penthouse, didn't charge her a dime. Or Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton wanted to be on Wall Street. He helped them to get on Wall Street. But does anybody know that? Does anybody even care? And so I said that we can often be misunderstood and misinterpreted. But I just have a great respect for President Trump and his family.
And there's also a very stark difference between the two presumed presidential candidates. I mean, as we're looking at what, the current president, what he has done during his term and just aggressively pushing for more and more abortion, really.
I try not to make fun of President Biden because I remember, honestly, he fell off of his bicycle a while back. And I said, and his own staff laughed at him. And I said, I'm an older person too. If I fall off my bike, it'd be harder for me to get up than it was for him to get up. We should be praying for him. Now, some of the things that he says are so far beyond reality that all I can do is pray. So I do not agree with President Biden's stand on abortion or chopping body parts off of babies and all of that. No, I don't agree. But that's why we have the electorate process. And I can vote for President Trump, and I will. But we have to pray for all of our leaders, not make fun of them, but ask for God to have mercy. We do.
And I would also add that we definitely need to educate ourselves on where they stand, especially on life issues. We do have a stark.
I don't know how much more little time we have.
We've got a couple more minutes. You feel free. Keep going.
There's a little song I like to end interviews with when I have time. And people always say, why do you sing that? I say, I learned it when I was a little girl. But you'd be so surprised how many people come up to me and said, I learned that when I was a little girl too. So I want to, Lord, bless us. Let us love each other. Be kind and compassionate, but strong in our convictions and values. And to do it with kindness, Lord. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
That was beautiful. You have a beautiful voice. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for sharing your thoughts on lots of different topics all related to our issue. You know, we are here to fight for mothers, for preborn babies, for those others that you mentioned, those who are aging, and we just really appreciate your voice in the pro-life movement and how you continue, as you mentioned, globally, to continue calling people back to valuing every human person.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much on behalf of Kansans for Life. Thank you, Dr. King, for joining us
Thank
today and for sharing your thoughts. Any other parting words you want to give us before we leave today?
God bless you. Just love the Lord and trust God and love people.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you too.
And thanks to all of you who are listening today. You can help us spread the word about this podcast by sharing it with someone who would appreciate hearing perspectives they'll never hear from the mainstream media. A quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified of future episodes too. We've got more great conversations coming your way. Stay connected with Kansans for Life by visiting kfl.org and signing up to receive our updates. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok at Kansans for Life. And as we say goodbye, never forget, the pro-life movement is on the right side of history. Truth always wins in the end. We hope you'll join us next time. Thank you.